is to try and capture some images.
You know what? I'm not 100% feeling that today.
Hey, no, 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 hey, no, no, hey, no, no, hey.
So instead of doing an adventure video this week, I figured I'd change things up just a little bit. And this week, I'm going to take a couple questions and answer your questions. The video I was working on for this week really didn't turn out that good. So today I'm going to take a couple of your questions and see what questions you guys got for me. So I put the question out there and asked, what questions do you have in terms of photography? I got some responses. One of the responses was, at the top of my camera, there's some different settings. What are they? And why is it bad to use automatic? Well, right now, I'm in a theater. So in here, you'd want to use something like a low light setting. It's on your camera. Some of the lower end cameras do have these settings. So in here, you're going to be using the low light setting because, well, as you can see, it's not that well lit. Now, another one of those settings is macro mode. Usually it's a flower. So in the event you want to basically get up close and personal with the flower in your camera, you just switch it over to the flower mode, and basically it will adjust to be take the best macro photos possible. Now also on your camera, chances are there's a guy running. That's sports mode. What it does is it adjusts your camera so that the settings that it's using are going to be faster shutter speeds. This will allow you to capture people moving in faster speeds. Another setting, sometimes it could be mountains, which is typically landscape mode. It allows you to basically take nice landscapes. And the camera basically, again, adjusts its settings so that you can take better landscape photos. There's nothing wrong with automatic mode. Anybody can use it. Typically it's used by rookies or beginners, but if you're a professional, chances are you're not using automatic. If you are, you're probably not much of a professional, because automatic completely takes over the camera and the camera decides what kind of image it's going to take. Whereas if you're in manual mode, you get to dictate, okay, how much depth of field do you want in the photograph? Do you want to focus in on something small and tiny, like a small squirrel? Or are you trying to capture a whole mountain range? So that's the big questions that come into play here. How much bokeh you want in the image is another question. So that's basically the big differences. Now, if you're a professional, chances are you're not using the automatic mode. So I hope I answered your question, Derek. So next question is, when should somebody be working or volunteering versus charging for their time? The reality is that no matter what you're doing, you could always be doing something else. So if a client wanted to hire me for a project and they didn't want to pay me, then what's the point of me working for them? I could be doing something else. I could be going out on an adventure. I could be hanging out with friends. I don't need to be taking photographs. I can easily say no. I can turn down jobs if it doesn't pay well. It makes no sense for people to waste their time basically spending time doing something they don't want or something they don't feel valued in versus something they do want and they do feel valued in. But not everyone's willing to pay for photographs, which is the biggest struggle. You got to find people that are willing to pay for it. If they're not willing to pay for it, chances are they're not worth your time. So the next question again comes from Twitter. This one's a public one though. So what's the best way to price a photo shoot? What's fair? Well, it's a very tricky question because there's lots of components involved. For instance, where is the photo shoot? Who's taking the photos? What experience do they have? How much skill do they have? How much equipment do they have? All these questions come into play. So at the end of the day, you have a ton of gear, or you might have a little gear. The whole goal of operating a business is to make a profit. Nobody expects you not to make a profit. Profit is not a dirty word. It's expected, especially when you're a business. If you're not making a profit, you're going to get in trouble really quick. Because what happens if you're not making a profit? You're losing money. And nobody in business wants to lose money. So when it comes to photo shoots, you have to look at the numerous different factors. Your cost is a big thing. How much it's going to cost you. And there's more costs than just dollars and cents. You might already have the equipment, so it might technically be free, but it's actually not free because there's a cost to use the equipment, there's a cost to travel to the location, there's a cost for your time. All this stuff adds up. And basically you need to use that to determine how much money you're worth and how much you can charge. So that's the big factor. So I can't 100% answer your question because I don't know the full details, but typically you should definitely charge on a project rate. That's what I suggest. So, moral of the story is that typically the creative professionals always struggle with how much to charge. It can be a struggle. It definitely can. And if you don't have the confidence in what you're charging, then you're going to have issues. But at the end of the day, figure out what your rate needs to be and charge it. Don't settle for less. Don't worry about if there's no business at first. It will come. But it's all about the confidence. And you have to be confident in what you're charging. So, I know this was a simple episode. Next week we'll be back to regularly programming. And thanks for the question, guys. It was a fun episode. It's a bit different, and I can't wait to get shooting in some nice weather again. So, thanks for watching, and I hope you enjoy. Be sure to subscribe.